Welcome to Shaken Not Deterred, the podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Gilmore, and I am so excited to have you here with us today. Today, we have a special treat for everyone who's listening because we have Nash Mackey. Nash Mackey is a rapid breakthrough coach and a performance coach. I've never really interviewed anybody who has this rapid breakthrough coaching, and I'm really, really excited to have him here all the way from... Tell me again.
Tasmania.
Oh, wow.
Australia, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So welcome, Nash, and thank you so much for being here. I know you're on a different time zone, so I'm very, very thankful. I don't know if I would have made it at 5 a.m.
Oh, no, it's great to be here, Miriam. I'm so glad we got the opportunity to connect.
Yes. So I guess I want to just jump right in and, for one, ask you about the rapid breakthrough coaching. And the reason that I wanted to specifically jump into that is because with everything, as we all know, that's happening in the world right now, so much change. So many people have had to, start over because of, this virus. A lot of people's companies have closed, businesses have closed. I'm sure you're seeing an influx of people having to start over and reinvent themselves at this stage in their life. So can you tell us a little bit about your coaching and how maybe it's what it's been seeing with what's been happening?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's quite interesting what I've really been seeing. Obviously, there's a huge amount of confusion. Like that's the biggest thing. People are uncertain. There's a huge element of uncertainty for people right now. But I think what's really happening is people are reevaluating their lives. And they've taken a step back. It's sort of like the fish that was in water. The fish didn't know it was in water till it got put on the sand. Right. And some people didn't actually realize the kind of lifestyle that they were in. And I think what has happened with this is people are kind of waking up to the kind of lifestyle they are living. So interestingly enough, what I'm seeing is more people who have had their lifestyle disrupted, but they're actually like, I don't want to go back to that lifestyle. I want to do something new. I want to use this as an opportunity to do something new. And so the vast majority of people I'm having conversation with are those people who are like, I want to stand for something else. I want to start a new business. I want to step out of the company I was working for. And how do I go about doing that? So it's quite an interesting conversation. I'm quite fascinated by that. I think also with all the things that are coming up in the world right now, like the lights are really being turned on in many ways. And people are waking up to new possibilities. People are waking up to the importance of speaking up. People are waking up to the fact that they can make a difference. And so that's really exciting for me because, at the end of the day, that's why I do what I do. I want to see people go out there and live great lives. I want to see people do what inspires them because at the end of the day, that's what I believe creates a great world. We need multiple people, as many people as possible, taking a stand and choosing to live by what's true to them.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of what I'm saying.
That makes a lot of sense. So let me ask you something, Nash. How did it, because to know a little bit about you, so what drove you into becoming a coach or being a coach? I mean, so many times we come across different coaches, and just to know a little bit more about you and how you got here to be in the position that you are today and doing what you do.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's been a little bit of a journey, and I'll try and keep it short for you. But essentially, at a very young age, I was blessed and driven enough to join the military. So I joined the military at 17, just the legal. Like as soon as I could join the military, I was in the door. I actually used to sit in the recruiting center because my older brother was in the military. And I come from a big family. I've got 5 brothers, 5 sisters in my family. And I'm the middle child. And so I was and we were all homeschooled growing up.
Oh, wow.
So, because my dad was a teacher. And so I couldn't wait to get out into the real world. I was like, and my parents actually sent me to college a year early because they could tell how frustrated I was. So I got out in the world and I was like, wow, I'm just going to go. And I was like, what do I do? And I saw my older brother was in the military. I was like, I'm going to do that. So even when I was too young to enlist, I would go and sit in the recruiting center every single day and just talk to the people the recruiters essentially, and just look at all the displays on the walls and just take it all in. I was just a little obsessed with it. And 17 hit, straight in the military. I began training as a combat medic. So that led me on a very, very interesting path. I was just Army Reserves at the time because I was still doing college, but I'd do college and I'd do Army Reserves. And I got to do this incredible training at a very young age. I guess I was a fairly responsible young guy, and that worked in my favour because I got to be in these amazing situations. So, for example, I used to go and train in emergency departments, and that kind of led me, like having that combat medic training, then led me to getting a job in operating theatre as well. And I used to work with an ambulance patient transport service. So at a very young age, I was immersed in this world of, let me just say this, I was immersed in this very real experience.
Okay.
And I got this very grounding experience in life where I got to see just, first of all, how fragile human life really is.
Sure.
I also got to see a massive amount of wasted potential. So when I used to work in hospital, I was experiencing young people my age who were getting administered treatment for drug overdoses. And I was actually standing there beside them, holding them down while they were getting the treatment, and I was having to see all this stuff. And then early 20s, again, working in operating theatre, all the conversations you have with people, sitting in the back of ambulance beside elderly patients on sometimes what was their last trip. And I'll be holding their hands, like talking to them, looking in their eyes, having these conversations like at such a young age. And so it just gave me a very different perspective on the world. And I actually slipped into a bit of depression after all this because I'd seen all this stuff, but I didn't really know how to process it very well. And, I was moving their bodies. And yeah. And at first I was good for it because it was just like an identity thing. It's like, it's what I am. I'm a medic. I'm this. And so I kind of took it on. But then eventually it kind of caught up with me a little bit. And I was kind of having a few breakdowns here and there. I remember one time just at a restaurant, and I was just like burst into tears, just like randomly. Just things started happening. I was like, wow, something's off here, and little things like that. And I became really quite unhappy, and I was kind of taking all this in. I was like, wow, I've really got to focus on living a good life. I've got to make sure I live a good life because I don't want to end up like, those people who I've seen, have really fallen prey to not being able to take control of their life for whatever reason. Or in some cases, the elderly patients who I spoke to about, and they had all that regret and that resentment to life. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't even know what that meant. And no one around me was, seemed to have the tools. They were just all doing the same thing. So I kind of went down this path. I started looking around at people around me, and I was like, who are the happiest people I know? Like, and what are they doing?
Sure.
And it happened to be my cousin, and he was one of the happiest guys I knew, and he happened to be a carpenter or a builder. So I was like, building must make you happy. So I went and became a carpenter, and I ran a construction business for I think 7 years.
Sure.
And I soon discovered, although it's great, and I'm so grateful for the knowledge to be able to do all that, I discovered that it wasn't my dream; it was actually his dream.
Sure.
And I that same kind of depression and just the overwhelm and the lack of fulfillment started coming up again, even in my construction business, which was really confusing because it was like, I'm earning better money than ever before by society's definition of success.
Yeah.
I'm doing really well. I had my amazing woman, and everything really lining up. The car, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not happy. I'm actually miserable. And I found I was turning to like huge amounts of alcohol and video gaming and overeating, and all these habits had just slipped into my life.
Yeah.
And I became so angry, and I used to have suicidal thoughts. And I realized that I was literally on the same path as some of those people I'd seen in the hospital. I was like, I'm not prone to this. Right. And there's got to be something over and above this. There's got to be something over and above this. And so that led me to this deep search where I kind of slipped into a depression. But I was kind of searching. I was always searching, and I came across this eBay business. And I was like, wow, the guy who actually ran this eBay business happened to be a carpenter as well. I was like, wow, he was a carpenter and he did this. And I was like, I'm going to go and do that. And again, I was just still following people for the sake of it, and which is fine to do at certain stages of your life. But part of that eBay business training, they're like, you'll never build this business with the same mindset you've had up until this point.
Right.
And so I sat in the seminar with my wife and our baby. We were right near the door. We'd spent every last penny getting to this seminar. And we had a new baby, so we're kind of near the door in case he screamed and we had to run out. But it was called Pat Mesiti, an Italian speaker. He just a little guy, powerhouse speaker. He walked on stage to train us with our mindsets. I heard this guy speak and my mind just opened because I had never heard all of this information. And what he was saying about processing past hurt, and actually the biggest thing was thinking for yourself. Thinking for yourself. I'd never heard someone say, "What's your dream? What's your dream, Nash?" No one had ever come to me and said, "What's your dream?" in my entire life, as basic as that sounds. I never had anyone say that to me. What do you really want to create out of your life? And he did that.
Right.
And even though I spent, $30,000 being part of that eBay business,
oh, wow.
I could not live with myself. Once I'd heard what he said, I could not live with myself. And I actually put that business aside to step into now what I do. And I've worked with incredible, blessed to say, incredible mentors. I'm actually one of the head coaches for Addicted to Success too, which is the number one motivational website in the world. Joel Brown, who runs Addicted to Success, has been one of my mentors, and a range of other people. And because I've had that grounding in the medical field and that real life experience, I'm not interested in just pumping people up. I want to see people produce results. So, that's kind of the long story of how I got into doing what
it speaks to us. It explains how it is that you got here. That's pretty interesting. Wow. It's funny because you see people online and you kind of see their story, but then, when you hear their story, it just makes things that much more connect better. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. So what got you into your mindset work and this side of the thing that you're interested in as well?
The reason that I got into, really creating the podcast, right, is more because I just realized, after I went through my divorce and my financial debacle and, seeing myself now after, almost 18 years married and with my own business, and I lost all of that. Now I was a mother, a single mother. I was doing it on my own. I mean, I had the support of my family, thankfully, but it's not the same. And then having to reinvent myself, very near the age of 40, when I didn't go to school and become a lawyer, an accountant, or a teacher. I didn't finish my college degree. So I was like, oh crap, what am I going to do at 40 years old, starting all over? And,
wow,
I just had a different vision for myself at that time. I thought by 40, in my mind, I was like, well, by my 40s, I'll probably kind of to be close to paying off my house. And, you have that mindset of the kids will be older, so I'll be coasting a little bit more. And all that went to hell in a handbasket. And I had to reinvent myself. So, and I think, and I would imagine that you'll probably agree with me, when you're having to start over from ground zero, your mind, especially when you've been through really, really emotional, difficult situations, your mind and your mindset are just as important as the goal that you're trying to achieve. In other words, I don't even think you can get to that goal unless your mind is right. And there's so many times when you're going through those tough times that you can, your mind plays tricks on you. And it leads you to believe stories that aren't exactly true, or it lumps every one of your bad stories into one thing. And it makes you think, oh, my whole life has been difficult. When in reality, it's just been certain situations. And then in your mind, you have them all up together. And you're like, well, my life's a mess. And it's really not a mess. You're just going through a stage.
Yes.
So, I had to really talk myself off the ledge many times and, talk myself through it. And I have friends and I have, but you know how it is. You're in your own mind and you need to get it right. Not what your friend tells you, even therapists. I've had therapists, I've had, business coaches, but I had to get it right in my head.
Yes.
And I think that's such a big thing. So that's how I got to have this podcast and,
Yeah, and I love what you said there. You have to get it yourself. You have to, and again, that's what I was referring to with the dream side of things. Like, it needs to come from you. It needs to be an intrinsic driver as opposed to an extrinsic force. Like that will get you a certain way.
Yeah.
But that will kind of burn out. And if you're relying on external drivers, aka motivation, which is something outside of you, that you always have to have something else to pump you up. But if it comes from if it comes from inside, which is actually inspiration, that's something that no one can ever extinguish, and you can actually cultivate this like flame or this fire just by feeding it and like saying, okay, what's my vision today? And then tomorrow, like, how do I build on that vision? How do I make that even more grand? How do I actually keep this ball of fire alive inside of myself? And you keep adding to that vision. Like, that's the thing that can pull you. So I love that you actually said that.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So what is, like, let me think, like, your ideal client or the person, or do you have like more of one type of industry, or are you just, do you have any, like, your avatar, maybe what they call it, like your ideal client?
Yeah, I tell you what, I've worked with some, including now, I've just employed my first time staff member, and I've got part of that, I've got some extra mentoring as well from a business expert. But this question of client avatar has been one that has caused me many sleepless nights, and also
I can see where that could be, because it's happened to me too.
Yeah, you get it. But the work I do, see, I'm very service based. I just want to serve. I just want to, like, really genuinely support people and see people live a richer quality of life. And so far, like, when I began my coaching business, what I did was I just started putting content out. I just started sharing from my heart and just giving it out for free. And I continue to do that on a very high level. But and I just allowed people to come to me, and that's exactly what they've done. And it's people, I can't pinpoint it. It might be an 18-year-old young lady who's a ballerina who needs support, and she's really struggling to get through, for auditions. It might be a 50-year-old man who's really struggling with alcohol addiction. It's the 30-year-old music producer who's got a marijuana addiction. Like, I cannot pinpoint it. Right. And if I have one. And I probably will zero in a little bit more, simply to speak to one group of people. Like, that's definitely going to be happening for even at least a year. Like, for example, I did once speak to new dads. That was one thing I did. But I don't know. I can't pinpoint it. Men, women, like, I want to work with everyone. And at the end of the day, like you said, Miriam, you didn't think you'd have to reinvent yourself when you need 40. Yeah. But you did. And that could be the same journey that someone could go on when they're, in their 20s or, in their 60s. And it doesn't matter. It's all, all relevant.
I get it. Yeah.
So, and the principles, I teach, absolutely, they work for anyone,
Right.
Right. Yeah. So
it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in business. It's just, it could be just an individual who's struggling with maybe something in regular life, a parenting.
Yeah, absolutely. All that stuff. Because the bigger part is that the mind it's an interesting thing. And obviously I'm very mindful if someone's got a condition where I cannot support them, I'll be very quick to tell them, as far as if they've got like a life, they're suicidal, something like that. I don't delve into that area, and I immediately put them in the direction of where they need to go. I'm very, very clear with that. But for the vast majority of people, they don't realize how powerful they are. They don't realize what they're capable of. And that was, I know for me, my biggest challenge. I didn't realize actually what I could be doing every single day to just make sure that my mindset, and I've got a healthy brain. Yeah. So this baby up here can actually function and process information and help me have a good perspective on whatever's happening. Because you can't control whatever's happening out there. You can control this, though. Yeah. And I know if we can, and even if it's a parent who's completely down and out, if they can just take time to develop a healthy mindset, and do things every single day to make sure that they're actually releasing the great chemicals and all the great stuff that's available when you do particular exercises and rituals that just give you some space and bring a bit of ease to your life and allow you just to take some stress off yourself as opposed to trying to like push against things all the time. It's amazing what can actually come up for you. If you just give yourself that bit of space, you can just come up with a new insight and you can be like, let me try it this way.
Right.
Or something. So that's often all it takes.
So would you say, if, I would say that the people who listen to my podcast are probably people who are, trying to get their career in line, starting over, reestablishing themselves in a business sense, maybe even a relationship. So but let's kind of try and focus maybe on the business side. If somebody's trying to, and I know even for myself, sometimes, especially when you're starting out, that you're small and you don't have like a big staff and so forth. It's like you have all these hats to wear and things can become overwhelming. So maybe chime into what what you would say maybe for if you had a client who is starting out and kind of is trying to wear all the hats. And, I guess maybe their mindset is should their mindset be key? Should their organization skills, like how should they get it together to be able to be optimal in trying to, I guess fill all the buckets that need to be filled when you're a one-man show, say.
Yeah, it's a great question that could probably have a very long answer, but I'm going to try and condense it for you.
Maybe like three best.
This could turn into a coaching session. So, okay, the first thing I'll say is what are you creating? Like, that's what I'll be asking them. Like, what's the outcome here? What's the ultimate outcome for you?
Right.
And not just ultimate outcome in business, because I think a lot of people who are starting business, they're like, oh, I'm building a business, but then they neglect the family or they neglect the other dimension of life. Like life is multi-dimensioned.
It is.
And so when I work with people, I don't just, if they came to me for a business to support them with some business growth, I would say, okay, that's good. We'll do that, but let's look at the first call, actually get them to rate themselves in every single one of the areas of life. And the area of life that's probably struggling the most, we actually start working on that because everything's touching everything. And if you are lousy as a parent, or not lousy from a place of like, and some people just don't really give it the energy it needs. But if you have that in your life, it's almost like a cancer, and it actually will affect your business. And whatever you do in your business, that will be like a handbrake to you. So you do need to go and take responsibility for it. And you do need to make sure, and that doesn't mean like it has to be a long-winded thing. Might just be like, okay, every single day you're going to schedule half an hour to go and sit with your kid and just be fully present with no technology. Yeah. And then they're like, okay, now I've got peace of mind. Now I can start focusing on the business. And the business might just grow quicker as a consequence of that. As strange as that might sound. So when I work with people, I'm like, what's the vision for your business? Get very, very clear on that. And what's the vision for the other areas of your life? What's the vision for all parts of your life, not just your business? Like, how will your business bring you up in all areas of your life? Because here's the thing. If you're just building business for the sake of business, then when you hit a roadblock, then very likely you won't be you won't have the same energy you would if that business was affecting you in multiple dimensions of your life. If it was the best thing for your health, if it was the best thing for your family, if it was the best thing for your level of impact you could have in the world and all the other dimensions, then it would be so much bigger than just running business for the sake of a business, if that makes sense. Because I think a lot of people are drawn to the idea of being an entrepreneur or something, and they're like, this is kind of almost like a status thing. And so they're drawn to being an entrepreneur for that reason, not remembering that the reason we're in business is to impact the world in a particular way. And if that's your focus, and that would be my other question, apart from vision, I'd say, who do you want to impact? What's the difference you want to make through your business? How will the world be a better place through from you running your business?
Right.
Does that make sense? Because that's a bigger driver. That's contribution. And that's, again, that thing that will keep you going even on your worst days, because you're like, this is making a difference. This is enriching people's lives. And do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that makes perfect sense, because as an entrepreneur, and I talk about that all the time, it's like you're saying, everything is connected, everything touches. Like if you're having a bad day with one of your kids, and it affects the way you operate that day in business. Maybe you're not your optimal, positive self because you're having this other thing affect you. And as in business and in sales, it's you do have to have kind of like a balance, and all the pillars kind of need to be attended to so that you can have a strong foundation to build on. I think
absolutely
that's true. So yeah, you're absolutely right that all of the areas are connected. That makes perfect sense.
For sure. And I guess the next part of that, so once you've got the vision of the business and for all dimensions of your life, and it's what I guess I'd call a holistic vision. It's not one dimension, because I've seen many business owners who are very, very successful in business, but their family life sucks, or their health is terrible, and they're stressed. And so and I would not call them successful. I'd actually call them very vulnerable. Yeah. I'd actually say they're walking on very thin ice. Sure. Because if they've got no other foundation, it's like if you have a building and you have one kind of central support, that's fine. But if you've got multiple supports holding that building up, it's just a solid structure, a more solid structure. I agree. So, and if one goes, then you've got the other one to fall back on, and then build from that a bit quicker. So yeah, vision and impact. And then I would say routines, like your routines as a business owner, you need to automate your routines. You need to automate doing things that are good for you. And when I say automate, you need to build habit around the things that will actually be good for you. Yeah. To the point where you're doing things on a daily basis that are good for you and you don't even think about it. It becomes second nature to you. You need to make sure that is the thing, because as a business owner, you've got a lot to think about. You've got, like you said, wearing many hats. And so you don't want to have to consciously put effort and think about, I need to go and do my workout. I need to go and do some breathing. I need to go and do some meditation. Yeah. You want to structure that in your day and do it so consistently to the point it becomes automatic. Like that stuff should be second nature for you. Right. Like it's not like, I better go and do that today. Yeah. You need to do it. And this is the thing. When you build a new habit correctly, it feels, if you don't do that habit, it feels wrong. It feels like yucky. It feels something's like, and you want to get to that place with habits that are super good for you. Right. Because that in the long run, that's going to be the thing that keeps you going. That's going to be the thing that's going to give you the drive, the energy, the focus. That's without yourself, like replenishing yourself, your business it will not go very far. And you've got to make sure you're learning, developing your mind, actually focusing on learning how to manage stress effectively, because again, that stress will just compound. So automate your rituals that are good for you. That and then of course, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, because I think that one of the struggles that a lot of business owners go through is the lack of consistency. Mm-hmm. And everybody has the best efforts and the best intentions, but like you're saying, the habits. I know even I struggle with creating habits that I know are going to happen every week. Say, for example, it's hard to commit to say, having say a live session on Facebook to talk about my business once a week, every say Wednesday at 9 a.m. People are afraid of committing to that because you think, well, what if I'm not available on that day? And at 9 a.m. I'm doing something else. What if I'm on vacation? So you make all of these excuses as the reason why you can't do it. And I think that habit, like you're saying, besides obviously working out and all those things, but creating a habit of trying to do, especially in your business, and show up in the same way, people pay attention. And it's not even sometimes I feel like the content that you bring out, and I'm specifically talking about content, but bringing the content that you bring out, they're noticing more that you're there all the time. Of course, your content has to be good and relatable and bring value, but we're expecting that to be that way anyways, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That consistency, how important that is. And I think a lot of times, and I'm talking about content, it could be, as a business owner, you might need to send out one email a week to your database, and that you have to do it consistently, whether it's an email, whether it's whatever it is that you need to do for your business on a consistent level to get you to that next place. But consistency, I think, and that goes with habits and all that. And that's very, very, very relatable, and that rang true for me the moment I heard you say that.
Excellent. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah, it's removing that conscious effort where you're having to think about it. And then, yeah, absolutely. Like, I guess the fourth piece would be learning how to manage your time very effectively.
Right.
And with a good time management, and at the end of the day, we can't manage time. It's like an illusion. We can only manage energy.
Sure.
And if you can learn how to manage your energy most effectively, and there's many, many ways to do that. And here's the biggest one, is kind of unbusiness-like as it might sound, is actually live within your values. Like, know your values and live within your values. And there's scientifically, we can see how when you're living in your values, we can actually see like the executive center of the brain lights up. We can see that really essentially comes online, and the forebrain is responsible for that higher reasoning. It's responsible for the vision. It's responsible for more of those kind of business-related behaviors you want to be doing, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Because the kind of primitive part of the brain is more just reactive. That's the old part of the brain. It's the emotional, reactive part of the brain. But you want to be, living in the higher functions of the brain to be running a business. And that doesn't happen. This part of the brain, the forebrain, doesn't really come online when you're in a stressed state. And so you don't have the same amount of vision. And, people, as a business owner, you're a leader. People don't follow you unless you've got a vision. If you're not clear where you're going, people are going to be very unlikely to want to follow you.
Sure.
People are going to be very unlikely to want to enroll in what you're doing. And so many people who have staff members, they've never sat down and actually communicated their vision to the staff. And quite often that's because they don't actually know themselves. And they're wondering why they're spinning their wheels and their business isn't growing at the rate they'd like it to. People need to know the vision. People want to know they are going somewhere. And people who are just turning up at a dead-end job, that's lifeless for most people.
Yeah.
People want to know if you can sit down and say, this is what I'm building. This is what we're aiming toward. And, you get to be part of this. Right. You get to be on this journey with us, and we get to create this thing. This is the difference we get to make.
Right.
Like, what an exciting thing if you had a job and someone came and said that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the message is lost so many times with CEOs where they don't really make their employees feel as they're part of the project or part of the company. And people, I think, they're more productive and they give better results in their job when they're happy and they feel that they are contributing to something that they're part of. So absolutely. I think that's absolutely true, and that makes complete sense, because when people feel like they're contributing and they feel like they matter, that makes all the difference in their performance.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And like, there's a reason why people travel overseas and go and look at things like the pyramids, or well, they can't travel overseas right now, but when they can, they go and look at the pyramids, and they go and stand there and look at the Great Wall of China, and they want to walk around. Like, humans are just drawn to big things, like not big things, but to grand things. People are drawn to greatness.
I get it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can create that for other people, and you can say, this is our pyramid. This is the thing that we're going to build together. And you're part of that. And people can know that for themselves. As a business owner, you need to know that for yourself. Like, what's your pyramid? That thing that you're creating, that's going to like add a beautiful dimension to other people's lives.
Right.
And I think people just get so caught up in the mundane act of business, just earning a profit.
Yeah.
That they kind of lose the soul out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And and I see this all the time. And people they're just hustling all the time and grinding, and they lose the actual the real essence of why you should be in business. Like, ultimately, you're there to make a difference. You're there to add something of value to the world.
Sure.
And I think the more people step into that and really focus on that part of their mission, the greater results they will get in return, because I don't know if you're a Bible, if you read the Bible or anything like that. I'm not necessarily, I was brought up Catholic, but so I do remember this phrase. I don't necessarily have a particular religion right now,
Sure.
But it's the phrase of find the way to serve the many, because service to many leads to greatness. Now that's a saying I definitely agree with.
Well, circling to what you were saying is that, a lot of many businesses now, and I think it's this like a new wave of the generation coming through. It's purpose-based business. So a lot of businesses now, I don't know if you've picked up on that, but a lot of companies have they'll give a small percentage of their earnings to their favorite foundation or their favorite organization. That's obviously to help or stop the hunger or like Tom's, for example, Tom's shoes that they gave part of their every time you would buy a pair of shoes, a child they would give a pair of shoes to an underprivileged child. So that type of thing, which I just it's just helpful and it's purpose-based business, and a lot of that is coming up nowadays.
Yes, I love that you brought that up because
greater good in the world.
That's such a great point, because people say the marketplace is so crowded now, and that's true, but that's a beautiful opportunity. Like that's the opportunity for you with your business to do something so unique and to come up with a vision that is so unique that despite the marketplace being so crowded, your business still stands out.
Yeah.
And that will only happen. The only way to stand out is to be yourself, because you at your essence are different from everyone else. Again, 100%. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. There's a million people, but people do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? We hear that all the time. They want to do business with somebody that they feel comfortable with, that they feel like they have something in common with. And if you're also, purpose driven and that's going to help your business as well, that's even better.
Yeah. And there's an incredible marketer. I'm not sure if you know her name, Sally Hogshead.
I don't know her.
And she says when it comes to marketing, she's like, it's easier to be different than it is to be better. Like, don't focus on being better, just focus on being different.
That's true. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a great one. So Nash, if somebody who's listening today wants to get a hold of you or wants to, do you offer any type of clarity calls or anything, that you can, of course, I'll drive them to I'll put the website and your contact information within the show notes.
Thank you.
But I don't know if there's anything that you want to say, if anybody wants to reach out to you. Do you have any special things that you do?
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. Well, ultimately, if anything I've said has resonated with anyone, reach out to me. And I would say the best way is just send me a message. I'm very kind of simple in the way I operate. I just like to have interaction with people.
Sure.
And the biggest part of it is I like to see if I'm the right fit for them, because the coaching I do, it is I don't work. I do one-off sessions occasionally for people.
Mm-hmm. That's
fine. If people just need a quick change of mind or need to get their mind on track very quickly, that's fine, and we can do that. But the bigger part is I'm not interested in just pumping people up and just sharing ideas for the sake of ideas. There's enough of that in the world. You can go to YouTube. I actually want to support people build new habit. So to the point, like I said, it becomes automatic.
Yeah.
And I know a huge part of that is, like you said, it's not just like, oh, here's some good ideas, now go and do it. It's actually like, here's step one. This is what it is for this week. This is what you need to start doing. And then the next week we build on that, and we build on that, and we build on that. And especially as a business owner, it takes a lot to have that kind of space of mind to do that for yourself.
Right.
So that's where obviously what I do is very valuable for people, is because they just come in and they check in with me, and it's my role. I do that for people. That's where I nerd out. I love the mind. I love knowing what develops an incredibly healthy mind. Yeah. And I love seeing people optimize their schedule. Again, that touch of military at a young age, I love seeing people have a regimented schedule where it's actually producing the results they want. And people think, oh, that sounds a bit stuffy. That sounds a bit like whatever. But it's actually incredibly freeing. Having a good schedule, having a routine equals freeness, equals freedom. And so many people just want more freedom in their life. And you
Absolutely.
don't get it just trying to like start each day and do the same thing again and again with the same mindset.
Right.
It's not where it's at. You need to do something over and above. Yeah. So I usually work with people for around 3 months at a time because I want to, like they say, roughly 66 days.
Mm-hmm.
That was University of College London. Proved that round about 66 days to hardwire in a new habit.
Okay.
And with hardwiring in a new habit, we also diminish old habits as well.
That's so
We focus on actually undoing old habits. And it's not about doing more. Quite often it's about doing less, but it's about doing less and doing it better.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So it's a refinement. It's a refinement of everything.
That's awesome. That sounds like great accountability. And I think a lot of, especially people in the self-employed world, you have no one to hold you accountable unless it's your client. And if your client's holding accountable, is that he's not happy.
Yes.
So you need somebody, it's nice to know that there's an option for a coach like yourself to, check in with and be held accountable and be told, like this is maybe try this or maybe try that. Because when you're in business for yourself, it's very, not a lot of people approach you to give you good advice. I mean, and unfortunately, it is what it is. You have to outsource that, and it could be in a coach. And I've always felt very strong about it. I've always thought it's an investment in your business and in yourself. So I highly recommend anybody who is interested in coaching to reach out to Nash. I think he's an amazing person to help you get to that level of performance that you're looking to achieve. So thank you so much, Nash, for taking the time to be here with us today, for waking up extra early. For me, that's extra early on your style. But I really appreciate you taking the time. You've really shared a lot of information, so much useful tips and ideas. And I'm sure that everybody will find it just as valuable as I have. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. It was great to connect with you, Miriam, and thank you for your amazing work. I know what it takes. I know the effort it takes to have a podcast and to produce this kind of content. So, yeah, I have full admiration for what you do, and you're showing up as a great mum and as a business owner. So, yeah, full respect for what you're doing, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.